outburst of anger, somebody begins to run into alcoholism, somebody begins to have suicidal ideations because you cannot see the point of living. The reason why this would happen is because of ignoring the first two doors. The door of change, acknowledging the fact that it is possible to change some situations, and it is also a fact that it is impossible to change some other situations. We are always becoming, but the result of what you become depends on you. Thank you very much, my dear viewers and listeners. It's a pleasure to have you this new day. My name is Moffat Mushauri, counselor psychologist and marriage and family therapist. I work with families, helping people who are going through various challenges, psychological issues, emotional issues, just to mention but a few. Did you know that no single cell in your body remains the same? That tells you that change is happening everywhere, and change is inevitable. But unfortunately, we tend not to realize that we are always becoming. But the result of what you become depends on you. We are always becoming, the old and the young. But then we ask ourselves some very toxic questions. And these are the questions that can make you stop living. And these are questions like, why me? Why did it have to happen to me? Why did I have to lose that job? Am I not good enough? Is it that I am cursed? Is it that I was the only person who, that God saw fit for me to go through such crisis? These are some very toxic questions, because what they do, they stop you from becoming. They stop you from embracing change. They stop you from learning new things and learning out of your experiences. It is therefore very, very important for us to realize that change is very, very paramount in our lives. We need to ask ourselves, where am I? Where am I going? And what do I want to become? Because I have to become anyway. Because what we become depends on us. How we deal with our current situations depends on how informed we are and how desirous we are in arriving to a desired end, and to finally be able to embrace that change that we so dearly want. Therefore, I want to encourage those of us who are struggling, young and old. Today, you look at young people whining and saying there are no jobs, and our politicians are taking advantage of that, of the fact that we are stuck in our situations. They are taking advantage of the fact that we are desperate. It is because somebody has not been able to move on, has not been able to embrace the futilities of life, have not been able to give themselves another room to be able to dream again. Today, for the young people, I know they say to a very great extent, the economy of this country is being driven by such people. They are the ones who are coming up with, technological advancement and so many other things. But unfortunately, there is a notion we have to change if we want to go somewhere, and if we want to live for what God, created us to achieve. And this is change of our mindset. Some of us are not even able to move on because they are feeling devastated. They have gone to school and they are saying there are no jobs. There is nothing that they can see ahead of them. They are making every now and then they are writing letters, asking for jobs. And sometimes I look at it and I say, I wish we could only have time to think about ourselves and think about whether we have been able to embrace the change that we have so that we can begin to discover ourselves. The reason why many of us are struggling is because we haven't even discovered ourselves either. And the moment you discover yourself, you begin to see the resources that are so much hidden in you. And unless we begin to deal with change the way we ought to, then it goes without saying that we shall never be able to discover these so precious resources within ourselves. It is therefore very, very important for such people, young people, to know that your destiny and your future is not tied around employment and is not tied around many other things. It is right within you. And if it is right within you, what is the best thing that we can do? It is, number one, to get to know where we are. Number two, to get to learn from our experiences. And most importantly, number three, to focus on our internal resources. Because God is so faithful. And the word of God says he owns cattle on 1,000 hills. And therefore, even these resources we are talking about, every one of us has been endowed with such resources. But unless we learn how to embrace change, it becomes very hard for us to see what is hidden within ourselves. We therefore keep on moving up and down, looking for an ideal life. And many other times that we are not actually living a life that we desire ourselves. Did you know there are some people who live their lives so that they can please others? They can paint an image, for others. People who cannot even sustain the kind of life they are living, because they are just painting their lives, they are just painting an image to the society so that they can conform, so that they are not going to feel as if they are out of place. And therefore, it is very, very important for us to realize that change is inevitable. That change happens even in our body cells. Every now and then, our cells are changing. They are becoming something different from what we had in the previous day. And therefore, it is important for us to realize that unless we come to that point of changing, if a door has closed, we move on to embracing the futilities of life, and we take care not to go to that door whereby we begin to fight, the door of aggression, the door of unhealthy way of coping. That it's not the right route for us to go. The moment we learn how to embrace change helps us to know how we are feeling. And when we get to know how we are feeling, we are able to know how we are going to respond to that feeling. And when we know how to respond to that kind of feeling, we are also able to know how to adjust ourselves. Change is very, very important. It is not every change that is bad. Even though we know change is painful. You've been required to relocate from where you used to live. It's painful. It doesn't feel good. But change is important. I work with corporate entities to help even employees to be able to be productive even at their workplace, because we strongly believe that it is important for somebody to be healthy for them to be productive in any other way. I want to remind you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Moffat Mshauri, and also my Facebook page, Moffat Mshauri, so that you can get to know me more and to interact with various topics that I teach to help the society. Thank you very much.